Welcome back to the Alabama Football News and Rumors channel on YouTube, presented by Chat Sports. I'm Ricky Green, your host here for Tide Talk Sports, and today we're going to take a look at National Early Signing Day for the University of Alabama. That's right, today is Wednesday, Early Signing Day, and we expect to see 22 of the nation's top football prospects put pen to paper today and sign with the Alabama Crimson Tide. In today's episode, we'll take a brief look at each one of those 22 signees and talk a little bit about what makes them special and what we expect to see from them during their time at the University of Alabama. Stick around, you're not going to want to miss a single minute of this episode, I guarantee it. Just like we usually always do, we're going to start out today's episode with a question for our viewers. I want you to get in the comment section right now and rate the 2021 recruiting class on a scale from 1 star to 5 stars. Consider team needs, rankings of the individual prospects, whatever you want to factor in. Give me your ranking for this 2021 class down in the comment section between 1 star and 5 stars. I'll pin this down there so everybody has a chance to answer. Looking forward to seeing what you think about that. Without any more rambling on, we'll dive straight in to today's episode of Tide Talk. The 2021 class is an absolutely loaded class for the Alabama Crimson Tide. There is no doubt about that. And we want to take a few minutes of your time today to briefly go through the committed players that we expect to sign today to the University of Alabama. We'll start kind of at the top, talk about these recruits in order of highest ranked to lowest ranked. And let me go ahead and tell you, when we get down to these lower ranked guys, these are guys that Nick Saban and his staff have evaluated, and I trust their evaluations over every single recruiting site on the internet, point blank period. So there's several of these guys that the coaching staff is crazy about and that I feel are criminally underrated, and we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. But the first prospect that we want to take a look at, J.C. Latham out of IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida, the #1 overall offensive tackle prospect in the nation, 6'6", 305 pounds, and I believe that J.C. Latham will be an instant impact guy on offense. I have picked him out of all these talented offensive recruits to be the one that makes an early difference at the University of Alabama. Alex Leatherwood, the consensus is that he'll move on after this season. So we'll need somebody to man the tackle spot opposite of Evan Neal, and I've got J.C. Latham pegged to be that guy. Next prospect that we want to look at is another elite offensive tackle, Tommy Brockermeyer out of Fort Worth, Texas, All Saints Episcopal, 6'6" and a quarter, right at 300 pounds now. And like I said, he's ranked the second best offensive tackle in the class. That gives Alabama the top 2 rated offensive tackles in the nation for the class of 2021. Switching gears here over to the defensive side of the ball, looking at Dallas Turner. He's from St. Thomas Aquinas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, measures in at 6'4", 245 pounds, and is a 5-star prospect according to the 247 Sports composite rankings. They've got him ranked as the #1 weak side defensive end in the nation, and I think he'll make a pretty good living in crimson and white, playing from that outside linebacker hybrid defensive end type spot, and really can be a nightmare for opposing offensive coordinators. Dallas Turner's a guy that can really get after the quarterback and can blow plays up in the backfield. Really excited about seeing Dallas Turner take the field for the Crimson Tide in the future. Now, the next guy is a prospect that I almost had selected to be my instant impact prospect on defense, but I last minute decided to go a little bit of a different way with that. Damon Payne, 5-star defensive tackle, 6'3½", over 300 pounds, insanely powerful and incredibly quick to be a guy that is that big. He can really disrupt things from the interior of the defensive line and really is a guy that commands a double team from offensive linemen, and his strength and power alone, his ability to convert power to speed, is really going to be a big positive for the pass rush at the University of Alabama. No doubt about it. Oh, side note, I believe that Damon Payne is the best defensive tackle prospect in the nation. Mason Smith is currently ranked in that spot, but Damon Payne is definitely a guy to watch for that number one defensive tackle spot in the nation, at least in my opinion. Moving right along here, we'll take a look at Quincy Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Pinson Valley High School in Pinson, Alabama. He's a guy that's almost 6'1", insanely athletic, can play on both sides of the ball. But the 247 Sports Composite Rankings has him ranked as the number one cornerback in the nation, and that's what I believe as well. Kool-Aid is without a doubt one of the most athletic prospects overall in the entire nation for 2021, and I couldn't be any more excited about having Quincy McKinstry here at Alabama to be able to compete for a cornerback spot that probably will be left vacant after this season by Patrick Surtain Jr. and possibly even by Josh Jobe. Next guy we want to look at is another member of what I believe is the greatest offensive line class ever assembled in the history of college football. So shout out to Coach Flood and the staff at Alabama for that. No doubt about, even if it's not the greatest of all time, it's in the discussion. And Terrence Ferguson is one of the prospects that really cements that, at least in my opinion. A huge guy, 6'4", 300 pounds, an absolute road grader, a guy that can be a multi-year starter at offensive guard for Alabama, and he's ranked by the 247 Sports Composite Rankings as the number 2 offensive guard in the country. This next prospect is somebody that I've been very vocal about in my support of him, and I believe that he is the number 1 inside linebacker in the country, even though 247 Sports has him ranked as the number 3 inside linebacker nationally. Deontay Lawson out of Mobile Christian School in Mobile, Alabama is the real deal Holyfield when we're talking about high school inside linebackers that have a college-ready skill set. Deontay Lawson is definitely a guy that fits that bill. Can't wait to see him suit up on Saturdays for the Crimson Tide. Aguiye Hall is a wide receiver, one of several in this class for Alabama, that is a show-stopping, game-breaking type of wide receiver. 6 foot 3 inches tall, weighs just a little over 200 pounds. Very kind of Julio Jones-esque in his game and the way that he approaches his game. And I'm very excited about seeing him at the capstone. Know that he'll be a dangerous offensive weapon for several years to come. Sticking with the wide receiver theme here, we'll look at Christian Leary, who is kind of our speed guy at wide receiver for the class. I asked someone very familiar with Christian and his game down in Florida, who would they compare him to that has come through Alabama, to give Alabama fans an idea of what to expect from Christian Leary and the skill set that he possesses. And I was immediately told that this is Kenyon Drake with a receiver skill set. And if that's the case, we welcome that absolutely here at the University of Alabama. Our signal caller for the class of 2021, Jalen Milroe out of Thompson High School in Katy, Texas, is a true dual threat guy, 6'3", just over 200 pounds. He's ranked by 247 Sports' composite rankings as the 4th best dual threat quarterback nationally. And I think there's an argument to be made for him being ranked as the top dual threat quarterback in the nation. Really excited about Jalen Milroe. Get him in, get him on campus, get him some experience, and let him be prepared to back up Bryce Young his first year at the capstone. Now, looking back over to the defensive side of the ball here for the next couple of prospects, Monkel Goodwine, a 6'4", 265-pound strong side defensive end from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, Rock Creek Christian Academy, is a guy that is an absolute monster on the defensive line. He comes off the edge and really kind of reminds me of a healthy Anthony Jennings in the way that he plays and we definitely can't be disappointed if his career turns out to be anything close to what Anthony was able to do during his time here at the University of Alabama. Now, this next prospect, even though I've said over and over again that I believe that Deontay Lawson is the #1 inside linebacker prospect in the nation, there's not a more physically imposing linebacker in the country, not any more so than Kendrick Blackshire out of Duncanville, Texas. I don't know if you've seen pictures of this guy or had a minute to take some time and watch his highlight videos, but this guy is built like a freaking brick house. He is a giant man that is incredibly athletic, 6'2", 245 pounds, and can move like a safety. It's incredible to see a guy that big be able to move the way that Kendrick Blackshire moves. Sticking with the defensive side of the ball, looking at Kadarius Callaway, 247 Sports has him ranked as the 5th best athlete in the nation, but I believe Mr. Callaway will make his living at safety at the University of Alabama, a guy that can really do some damage up in the box, a head-hunting, physical type defensive back there at safety, something that we've always kind of been known for during the Nick Saban tenure at the University of Alabama. And Kadarius Callaway will more than likely go a long way towards keeping that rolling for the Crimson Tide. All right, you might be about to catch a commercial break here on YouTube, but while they're running their commercial, that gives you a perfect chance to get down in the comment section right now and let me know who you believe will be the most likely instant impact guy on offense and on defense for Alabama from this 2021 class. And by the time you get finished doing that, we should be right back with you. So, commercial break, out of here, got that took care of. Want to continue on down through our list here. I'm going to go ahead and knock out giving you my pick for defensive instant impact guy. Now, there were several that I looked at and considered putting in this slot, but I'm going to have to go with Kyrie Jackson, the junior college cornerback. Saban doesn't recruit JUCO guys at cornerback unless he plans on them coming in and pushing for a starting role right away, and I believe Kyrie Jackson fits that bill just perfectly. 6'3", will play at just over 200 pounds, and I think that Kyrie Jackson is probably the best JUCO cornerback to come out in the last 5 years, not just for this year. Incredibly long, has every one of the critical factors that Nick Saban looks for in a boundary corner, and I believe Kyrie Jackson will be our instant impact guy on defense for the class of 2021. Okay, now back kind of over to the offensive side of the ball here real quick, looking at the other half of the Brockemeyer twins. James Brockemeyer, ranked as the #1 center in the country and is absolutely deserving of that ranking. James and Tommy will be multi-year starters for the University of Alabama, and I cannot wait to have both of them on campus. Another couple of absolute maulers on the offensive line for Coach Kyle Flood at the University of Alabama. Back to the defensive side of the ball here quickly. Kane Williams out of John Errett in Marrero, Louisiana, ranked as the 10th best safety in the nation by the 247 Sports Composite. 6'2", 205 pounds currently, and a very, very athletic safety. Reminds me a lot, coming out of high school, of Deontay Thompson, and I can guarantee you that that is a compliment for Kane Williams. Ian Jackson, ranked as the 14th best outside linebacker in the country according to the 247 Sports Composite rankings, but I have been very vocal about Mr. Ian as well. I believe that his mother and he watched our video from yesterday, so shout out to Ian Jackson and to his mother and to Coach Reggie Jackson for putting us in contact with this great family. We expect Ian Jackson to have a terrific career at the University of Alabama, and I believe that he'll make his money as an inside linebacker, even though the recruiting services have him ranked as an outside linebacker. Ian Jackson is one of the top 3 or 4 inside linebackers in the nation, in my opinion. And I think people are sleeping on Ian just a little bit, but he'll wake everybody up when he puts on that crimson and white. I can guarantee you that. Another prospect on the defensive side of the ball, Devonta Smith, one-time Ohio State University commit, decommitted from Ohio State, flipped his commitment to Alabama, and I sure am glad that he did. This is one of the kids that I think is severely underrated. 247 Sports has him ranked as the 25th best cornerback prospect in the country, and I believe that he is slightly better than that ranking, no doubt about it. Devonta Smith, 6 foot, 185 pounds, and is another guy that checks every box when you're talking about what Nick Saban looks for in a defensive back at the University of Alabama. Now, this next guy that we're going to take a look at is an absolute monster of a man. We're talking about Tim Keenan out of Ramsey High School in Birmingham, Alabama, the 24th best defensive tackle prospect in the nation, according to 247 Sports. But I think that he is more of a nose guard type player and should be ranked a little higher than what they have him pegged at. Tim Keenan is one of the most powerful, most disruptive, physically imposing defensive linemen in the class of 2021. And at 6'2", 330 pounds, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Josh Chapman there at that nose guard position. And I expect that he'll be yet another guy that can rotate in and out, keep fresh guys along that defensive line, and he'll definitely command a double team from opposing offensive linemen. Sticking with that defensive tackle theme here, Anquan Barnes is a defensive tackle out of Robert E. Lee High School in Montgomery, Alabama. One guy that I think is probably one of the most underrated guys in this class for Alabama. The 247 Sports Composite Rankings has him pegged as the 35th best defensive tackle in the country. And Anquan Barnes is a guy that is athletic enough to play on both sides of the ball. He could play on the offensive line and be ranked very highly there as well, but it looks like, at least for now, the plan for him at Alabama is to stick on that defensive side, measuring at 6'5", right at 300 pounds. He will be a nightmare for opposing offensive quarterbacks at the University of Alabama as well. Now, before we wrap everything up, we've got one more prospect that we want to look at that's going to sign with the University of Alabama today on early signing day. If you haven't subscribed to our channel already, we want to be at 2,500 subscribers here as quickly as we possibly can. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me right now, and we greatly, greatly would appreciate your help in reaching our goal of 2,500 subscribers here on our YouTube channel. The last prospect that we're going to take a look at today is Robbie Outs out of Rock Hill High School in Rock Hill, South Carolina. He's a tight end. 247 Sports has him ranked as the 31st best tight end in the country, and that is absolutely borderline insanity. You would have to show me 30 better tight end prospects before I would believe that that ranking is anywhere close to accurate for Robbie Outs. This is a kid that measures in at 6'4", 240 pounds, and reminds me a lot of a great tight end that's now in the NFL that just came from the University of South Carolina. Robbie Outs is a guy that can do it all as a tight end. He can block. He's got great hands. He is a terrific run blocker. Somebody that I think will have a very successful career during his time at the University of Alabama. Now that pretty much wraps it up for today for our early signing day special. Gave a look at all the recruits that we expect, 22 of them, to sign today with the University of Alabama. Before we sign off, though, I want to ask you one more time, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that for us right now. We want to be at 2,500 subscribers here on the Alabama Football News and Rumors channel on YouTube, and we want you to be a part of the Tide Talk Sports family as well. This YouTube channel helps us keep TideTalkSports.com free for all Alabama fans, and we want to be able to continue to do that And with the growth that we're experiencing here, we should be able to do that no problem. Really appreciate all the love and support that we've been shown here so far, and are looking very much forward to seeing you here next time on the Alabama Football News and Rumors channel, when we will have a special guest, Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, on, breaking down the upcoming SEC championship game between the University of Alabama and the Gators of the University of Florida. See you next time. Thanks for joining us today on a very special early signing day episode. We'll see you guys and gals next time. Roll Tide.